I am live. What's happening, party people? Oh man. Whew. I've been kind of like this since I did my live the other day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As the title says, it's all about timing and communication. "6:30 in the morning here. Says I have one viewer. I don't know if that's me. So if you're viewing my live, say hello so I know you're here. No, it's rude to eat in front of people. Good morning, good morning. It is 6:30 in the morning here in the wonderful US of A. A couple of days ago, I was live on YouTube. Hey, Tiff, if you got any car questions over here, I am glad to answer them. I'm a Volvo enthusiast. I do a lot of repairs, traveling mechanic. Got a YouTube channel with a bunch of videos over there. Help people understand things about cars. And hey, good morning, honey. What are you doing up? Mita, my wife, just joined my live over here on uh, YouTube. Said good morning. I didn't know she was awake yet. It's 5:30 where she is. She's in Texas visiting the family. I hadn't made it there yet. So excuse me one second. I had to take care of my nose here. I'm having symptoms of some kind of allergies or cold or something. Figure it'd be better to clean my nose than my nose start running on my live. I be known for the guy that nose runs on the live. I'm kind of thinking some people from over in Europe will probably join in on the live since it's this just afternoon in the afternoon in most of Europe. Can you folks on my YouTube live hear me okay? If you're over here on TikTok, give me some likes so that I can maybe get some more people to view. But if you're over here on TikTok, thank you, welcome. If you have any questions about cars and stuff like that, feel free to answer. I think my buddy Rudy just joined. Yes, thanks all of you that are over here on TikTok. If you got any car questions, ask. I'll try to answer them. And I wanted to get on here just for a few minutes before I get ready to start my day and talk about one of the most important things on fixing cars. And that is if you're messing with the timing. Man, people get on here and they do timing belts and they want to do timing belts. And that is really not a hard job to do. However, that's a job you don't want to make a mistake doing. If you make a mistake doing the timing, you could destroy your engine. One of the things that is good and bad is a two-edged sword about fixing your cars and using internet information while doing so is that you get the opportunity to find instructions from different sources. Uh, and sad situation is I'm one of the only people that will publish my contact information so that you can ask me a question, verify something. When I started this channel years ago, I did it to give the devil a black eye. One of my born ingrained traits given to me from our creator is to be helpful. So I like helping people. I try to help people. And there was a tragedy going on in my life, and I said, hey, God, what can I do? And I decided to help people. I said, show me how I can help others. So I got information how to start a YouTube channel. And in starting that YouTube channel, I had to make a decision because the internet was still a cowboy environment, which means people did what they wanted, said what they wanted. They still kind of do that a little bit, but not as bad as they used to, because you will get canceled today doing that. So there were people saying some, aggressive racial things that most people would just want to meet that with a knuckle sandwich. So anyway, I'm asked, God, should I hide behind the camera or publish my face on my videos? And he said, I got one better than that. I want you to publish your contact information. I was like, whoa, that's a whole nother level of commitment. And he said, exactly. I was like, whoa, that's a whole nother level of commitment. And he said, exactly. I want you to be responsible for what you publish on the internet. Responsible, accountable, and people can call you out on it, and people could contact you to get more help. I said, okay, we'll do that. So, unlike most people, my contact information is readily available for you to view my information, contact me and ask me about it, contact me to clarify something, contact me to challenge a theory or something like that. Whatever it is, you can contact me. Now, these other 42 million people that are publishing these instructions on the internet, you can't contact them. You got to hire a private investigator, spend about $3,000 to find out where they are, and then they still may not talk to you. You can call or text me. I pick up the phone. The same phone that I use to answer the calls coming from my family. My daughter, my wife, my grandson. We all use the same number that you get to use. So, hey, people contact me and they ask me things about the job they're trying to do. And the sad thing about it is, oftentimes they're asking me about somebody else's information. Now, I will tell you this and tell you quick. I am accountable, responsible for the information I publish on the internet. I'm not responsible for information that other people put on the internet. So when you contact me asking me about what somebody else said, how somebody else did it, how somebody else suggests you do something, I'm going to tell you to contact them, which is near impossible because they don't want you contacting them. I said all that to say this. I would highly suggest while you're doing repairs or whatever else you got going on, and you decide to use information off the internet, this wonderful internet, find some complete instructions. Good morning, Jay. Find complete instructions and use them. Usually, most people that I talk to that get in trouble with doing timing belt jobs, cylinder head jobs, stuff like that, they have found a few different sources of these repair instructions, and then they mix them up. They use some of John's information. They use some of Shadrach's information. They use some of Robert DIY's information. And they get all mixed up. And they get confused. And they get in trouble. If your brain follows Shadrach good and his information is complete, use Shadrach's information. If my style of teaching works for you, which I think it probably works for 80% of the population, use my information. But be careful if you decide to use my information and mix it with John's and mix it with Shadrach's, because you're probably going to get in trouble. And when you contact me about Shadrach's information or John's information or my information, I'm going to ask you trick questions. These questions are designed to help me quickly understand whose information you're following, because it may be easy for me to guide you if you're using my information, but I don't know what Shadrach told you. So I'm probably not going to be able to back you out of Shadrach's information. So I will ask you what seems to be a interesting question, but it's a trap. It's my way of finding out if you're using other people's information and mixing it in with mine. We're supposed to be making a carrot cake, and here you are mixing in, I don't know, pomegranates. What are you doing mixing pomegranates in the carrot cake that I set out? That's not what my recipe called for. Now you wonder why it don't taste right. So I'll ask a question, and back sometimes I'll tell people to step back away from your job, take a picture of it, and send me the picture. And when I get that picture, I see all kind of things in the picture that are taken apart that my video didn't tell you to take apart. So I'm going to immediately ask, who told you to take that off? Because now you got another component to put on there that I didn't tell you to take off, and you're probably not going to put it on right. So you're going to have a problem. Hey, man, I really appreciate you folks over here on TikTok. I got over 1,000 likes already. I appreciate that. So I said all that to say this. If you are going to use some information on the internet, I suggest you find some complete information that'll help you do what you want to do. And then follow that one. Don't mix it up with too many people's information, because that's going to cause confusion. You know what they say? You're only supposed to have one chief with all these Indians, but you go to a class and you got 3-4 professors teaching the same class, you don't know who to follow. It just gets confusing. So you end up in trouble, you know. And I tell you, I am not liable for Shadrach's information or John's information. And I'm not going to take responsibility for the information. I'm going to tell you, contact them. If you got to spend $3,500 to track them down and ask them a question about why they told you to pull that bolt out, go ahead. Okay, and here's the deal. Let's talk about timing, because that's the thing that people are afraid of, and it makes or breaks a lot of people when it comes to DIY stuff. When you are doing a timing job on most of these Volvos, from, I don't know, 1982 all the way up to about, I don't know, they're probably still doing it, 2010 or whatever. Let's just say 2010. When they built that engine at the manufacturer, they put everything together so that it would run in harmony, synchronization. It is synchronized to the degree so that that engine produces peak performance. It's going to run real good. They put the engine in I would call it a neutral or central position where it's good for doing maintenance on it, and then they put marks on it. They got this cover with the groove in there. They put a mark on this cam, a mark on this cam, a mark on the crank sprocket, so that this stuff lines up. The crank sprocket is probably actually built with the mark in it, but these cams and the cam sprockets, they put those marks on there. This is the perfect setting of the timing for the engine to run right, for no interference to happen while it's running, for it to get peak performance, and for you to do maintenance on it. So if you are going to go in here and do some maintenance, replace your timing belt, replace your water pump, yada, yada, whatever you're going to do, you roll the engine around with the bolt on the front of the harmonic balancer. You should go clockwise. That's the way the engine runs. And when that crank gets to its proper maintenance timing setting mark, you stop. Then you can verify that that's a good mark by looking at the cam sprockets, the marks on the timing cover. Or like I do, I take it to the mark on the timing cover and I verify that it's set properly on the crank and the other cam sprocket. I'm good to go. Timing is set. Now, Rob, I got to say big thanks to you for the work. I've saved me and my S70 so many times. Man, Third Dragon, you are welcome. So, once you get the engine on its marks and you're doing a timing belt job, you can pull the belt off, the tensioner roller, the idler roller. Let me say this. I don't know if I've done 100, 200, or 400 timing belt jobs. I have never, ever had the crank move. It's never happened. The crank has never moved. The only thing that I've ever had move only was the exhaust cam. Now, when I do a timing belt job on a Volvo 850, a Volvo 960, a Volvo S40, all the way up to 2009 or whatever, I do not use cam locking tools. I don't use cam locking tools on the front. I don't use cam locking tools on the back. I don't use crank locking tools on the side. It is not necessary. Now, a lot of people think, hey, Robert, you're a genius. Well, sad to say, I'm probably not. No, let me clear that up. I'm not a genius. The information that I delivered to you was received from somebody else. There are a couple incredible mechanics out there that are kind enough to walk me through things. Then I can do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And when I do it right, I make a video of it. And I don't know if it's right. It's what works, what turns out with the good result. I record that, make a video, and get it delivered to you so that you can do the job with little or no confusion. That's just how it is. It ain't my information. I'm not the one that creates. Now, occasionally, I'll be doing something for the 42nd time, and I'll learn a little thing to do that makes it easier. And then I share that on my daily video. I said, hey, guys, guess what? If you hold this like this, this will be easier. There you go. You got a little trick or tip. I didn't think of that the first or second time. That hit my lightning fast mind like the 42nd time. I've been doing this for 8 years, and I finally realized that if I put a tool on this and hold this, this will work better. Voila, you got it. So I'm not the genius. I'm giving you information that I got from a mechanic that's doing this 3-4 times a day. Boom, 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 boom. There are mechanics out there that do a timing belt job, including the water pump, in 38 minutes. I'm not that fast. I'm not that skilled. These guys are good. And these are the guys that are kind enough and gracious enough to give me information so that I can share it with you. My number one mechanic is Alan, man. I got a question. Alan tries to answer me within 30 minutes. Occasionally he's busy. Do I get mad at him for not answering? No. If he forgets to answer, do I get mad at him? No. Alan's an incredible mechanic, awesome Volvo enthusiast, and a friend. If he doesn't answer me in 2-3 days, I assume he forgot that I sent him a question. Maybe the question didn't make it to him. The internet's weird. It could have ate my question. But he helps me out. And half the time, he knows this is not information I need. This is information you need. You need this information. I'm sorry if I'm favoring my phone over here with TikTok. It just looks better than my YouTube thing. So I'm favoring that, you know. So again, I say all that to say, use instructions that's number one, complete. Number two, that's easy for you to understand. Number three, that gives you the confidence that you can get the job done. So, hey, if you are doing timing jobs, by all means, time your engine to the mark on the crank. You could flip it and do it on the cam sprockets. Always verify your timing on your crank. I've never had a crank move. Can it move? Yes. Will it move? Probably not. Time it on the cranks. Cut the belt, take the belt off. Change your water pump, your rollers, your tensioner. Put that stuff back together. Put that belt on the crank. Go up to your intake cam. Make sure your intake cam is still on the mark. Put the belt over it. Go over to your exhaust cam. Make sure your exhaust cam is on the mark. If it's not, move it to the mark. I don't care which way you move it. Move it directly to the mark. If it's advanced, retard it. If it's retarded, advance it. Move it to the mark, put the belt on, which puts them back in synchronization. Run that thing, cross the water pump, cross your tensioner roller, set your tension, you're good to go. There is no need to put any cam locking tools on anything when you're doing timing components replacements. Unless you are loosening something from the cams, i.e. a VVT hub, a cam sprocket to get back there and mess with a cam seal or something like that. If you're going to do that, then you need to lock the cams from the back. Now, I don't even lock the cams when I'm doing front cam seals unless I have a VVT hub. If you're an 850 guy, 960 guy, and you have a fixed sprocket on that cam with everything connected, before I take anything loose, I get the engine on time, check the marks on the crank. Before I take anything loose, I crack the bolts loose on that sprocket, on that cam. And then I just have them finger tight. Then I remove the belt. Then I take those screws out of that cam sprocket. I slide that cam sprocket on. I replace the cam seal. I put that thing back where it was. I look at the marks that I made around the bolt holes. Cam seal. I put that thing back where it was. I look at the marks that I made around the bolt holes or whatever, because I usually, before I crack the bolts loose, I'll put an ink pen or some kind of mark. Sometimes you can see the shadow from the bolts on there, and you can put it back where it was. Sometimes I mark it. I get like a punch or something, sharp razor blade. I put a mark around the bolts, pull the bolts off, pull the sprocket off, replace the seal, put the sprocket back on, snug the bolts back in, put the belt back on. Cam seal done. You probably do a cam seal or a roller or something in less than 20 minutes if you wanted to. Now, sometimes it's a little hard to get the seal out. If you got a seal puller or know how to get them out, or it fell out, you can just pull it out, put another one in. 15, 20 minutes, you're done with that job. There's no reason to install no cam locking tool, take 62 things off the back of that engine to do that. It's just not. And my instructions will not have a step in there that says remove your cam sensor, your distributor, and install a cam locking tool. Because I don't. I'm showing you how I do it. However, if you want to do all of that stuff, get somebody's instructions and go right ahead. But it's not necessary. The only time it's necessary is if you're removing a VVT hub. Other than that, I mean, you could do it for safety backup reasons, but hey, it's not necessary. So always put your timing on the marks before you take anything off of that timing stuff, and take it off, put it back on, move the sprockets however you need to, get the timing belt back on, and as close to the marks as you can, put it together, voila, it's done. My quickest timing belt job with the water pump was like an hour and 10 minutes. You know, it was a 99 V70 or S70. About an hour and 10 minutes. Usually it takes me about 2 hours. I don't know. You know, I'm just not fast. So that's the timing portion. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you want, or let me back up. If you have a question about someone else's instructions, ask yourself or ask them. I'm not responsible or accountable to information that other people put on the internet. I'm just not. I'm going to take a quick second, see if somebody's got any questions in here. So let me answer a couple questions. And then I'm probably going to shut this down because I got to go do my exercise. I got to come back, shower, get just so I can make it to church. Then after church, I got to go buy my storage. They don't like the way I parked the vehicle that I put in storage the other day. And that's just that. So let me see if I got any questions. Part of the communication part of this live explanation is to let you know my videos communicate to you. You receive the communication by watching it, listening to it. If I'm somebody that you don't understand because of the way I communicate, find somebody else's instructions. All right, let me grab these YouTube comments and see if there's some questions in there. I have this weird situation. My 850, I have 3 850s, and none of them had this situation, nor did I find anything on the internet. But the car, after driving for some time, will try to stall when I drive in a gear like 1.1 to 1.3 RPMs. If this is a manual car, you should never be down that low in gear trying to drive. However, if the car is in neutral or it's an automatic, it's in drive, and you don't have your foot on the gas, when you don't have your foot on the gas, your throttle position is in a resting position, and that tells the computer to control the air with the mass airflow sensor. Your throttle position sensor signals the computer to go in that mode. So anytime your foot is off the gas, your mass airflow sensor controls your air fuel mix. Whenever your foot is on the gas, there's a switch in there, and your air is controlled by your throttle pedal, moving your throttle plate. Now, back in the day, that used to be a gas pedal. Today, it's an air pedal. When you push your foot on the gas pedal, you're controlling the air. The computer is controlling the amount of gas. So that's an oxymoron for us today. We don't have a gas pedal. We have an air pedal. Controls the air. The computer mixes the gas in it, makes it run right. So from my perspective, you probably have a problem with your mass airflow sensor. Now, your mass airflow sensor has a couple of, I don't know, function responsibilities. And I think it's primarily have three functions. If one of those functions go bad and the other two still work, you could think your mass airflow sensor is still working, where only 66% of it's working, 33% of it's bad. You need to get that fixed. All right, let me keep reading just in case. And the further I drive, the worse it gets. I thought it was something with the gearbox, but everything looked okay because I had to take the gearbox off. Kind of sounds like a manual. So I think it's probably a fuel pump, but before ordering a new one, I wanted to ask. I have a I have a video that is titled Failing Fuel Pump Symptoms. So if you go to YouTube, you write Failing Fuel Pump Robert DIY, this video come up and you can see the symptoms of a failing fuel pump. You have a couple things there. You say the further you drive. That makes sense, but you can have a fuel pump that's working good when you first start and it's somehow dying. I don't really think it's a fuel pump. I think you probably have some kind of wire in this system that's getting hot. Could be in the mass airflow sensor. And the longer you drive, the hotter it gets. So I would scan it for codes, probably start with a mass airflow sensor. You could borrow one from one of your other cars. If that's not it, maybe your coolant temp sensor. But your coolant temp sensor is going to get to its setting pretty quick. 5-10 minutes, it's going to be at its setting. Shouldn't get no worse after 5 or 10 minutes. So if it's getting worse after 30 minutes, it's going to be at its setting. Shouldn't get no worse after 5 or 10 minutes. So if it's getting worse after 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, then it's something electrical or electronic that's getting hot. Could be a bad wire in there. Man, that could be a nightmare. I would start mass airflow sensor, maybe check coolant temp sensor. Could be your TPS. I had a problem with my car. Man, the TPS went bad. I'd be driving down the road 45 miles an hour, 65, 70 kilometers, and it would start bucking like the fuel pump was cutting off and on. Boom, 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 boom. And then it smooths out. It'd do it again. This went on for 3 months before I finally figured out that I had a bad throttle position sensor. The throttle position sensor doesn't always throw a code. Very, very strange issues when it's going bad. Let me see if this. Don't think it's the fuel pump. If your fuel pump's got 200,000 miles on it, just replace it. But if it doesn't, and I've seen in today's society where most things made are junk, I've seen fuel pumps go out in a month. It's sad. It can be annoying to line everything without a cam lock in place, though. Man, I don't think so. Very few mechanics use them, but hey, James, if it works for you, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, when you use somebody else's instructions, try not to call me. Don't forget to like and share, everybody. James, what happens when all these old Volvos start to rust? Do we have to buy this new computerized rubbish that is locked down at the dealer? Well, you know, this is a this is a dynamic game. Back in the 40s, when they came out with fuel injectors, people were saying, "Oh man, I'm going to keep my carbureted operated car." As they move into other eras and we lose the ability to maintain ours, people will share information with us and technology with us that will help us crack the code. So there are always going to be code crackers out there, man. There's always going to be code crackers out there. And if we're open-minded and determined, we will still overcome. But an example, my daughter has a 2011 S60 T6. I had to rebuild the front end of that thing. I figured it out, you know. There was a lot of things that I didn't understand, the way they put it together. I still don't know how they get engines into that thing. I had to cut the frame of her old S60 to get the engine out. Cut some metal out of it just to get the engine out of the car. But there are guys that's running shops and stuff. They know how to get those engines out. So, hey, if you're over here on TikTok, if you can, keep liking. I thank you for that. But there's always going to be somebody to help us crack the code. So I'm not worried about it. And let me tell you something. I'm an 850 guy, but man, it's very tempting to get one of these 2012 S60 T6s, man. Those things are nice. I mean, they ride nice. They're super fast. They're quiet. They got these bells and whistles on them. They're nice. It would not hurt my feelings to have one. Might hurt my feelings to service one every once in a while. Like, I did a right CV axle on her car. You can't get a tool in there to get the bolt out. I don't know how many things the manual tells them to take apart just to get the CV axle out. CV axle on the 850 is a 30-minute job on this thing. It took me 2 hours. This one bolt, it's got a 45-minute bolt in it. So, yeah, try to prevent your car from rusting. That's all I can say. How do you know if the ABS module is bad on an 850? You know that your ABS module is bad on the 850 because the ABS module is on the 850. There's some things that's just going to go bad on your 850. At some point, you're going to have to replace it. I got a video that talks about ABS module replacement. Watch that video. Normally, you get an ABS light or a Trax light. And it's losing its electronic connections. The solder joints go bad on them. It's a well-known problem. You can scan it. If I had an ABS module in an 850, the first thing that I would do if I suspected I had a bad ABS problem, I would replace the module. And if that didn't fix it, then I would move on to other troubleshooting. Check the wires, go into the sensors, the back and the front. I would scan it. I have a scanner. But if your module is old and have not been rebuilt, if it's older than 5 years old, it could be the module. So I would replace the module with one from a reputable source. And if I still have the issue, I would start troubleshooting from there. I've seen the ABS wires in the ABS system going to the sensor rotted out a foot off the sensor. I had a guy with a bad ABS system. We replaced the module, put it on the scanner, put the car on the lift, rolling it. One of the wheels is lagging behind, 30%. It's cutting off and on. I said, well, let me check the wires. I went down there. The wire was broken on the sensor. I said, all right, let me put another piece of wire on there. So I moved up about an inch in the wire. That was rotted. I moved up another inch. That was rotted. Moved up to the thick rubber coating. It was rotted there. I went up that wire 1.5 feet before I found good wire. The wire just rotted out. So I had to go all the way up in the engine, close to the firewall, and splice in a piece of wire, go back down to that sensor to fix that problem. But again, I start with the module, go from there. Excuse me, I got some kind of respiratory distress going on. I actually took a COVID test last night. I thought, man, I got all these symptoms. Maybe I got COVID. Test came out negative, but when you read the test thing, it says, because it's negative don't mean you don't have it. Test again in 24 to 48 hours. So I'm probably going to do another test. Anyway, the thing is, the stalling mostly starts when I'm in traffic and I go forward and stop. Just abuse the clutch pedal. The throttle pedal also feels very heavy on low RPMs, but the boost kicks in and it drives good. You shouldn't be in the boost in low RPM. So, I mean, it's just the gas kicks in. But again, if your foot is off the gas, the computer is supposed to maintain the idle. If that's not happening, you probably got a bad mass airflow sensor. It also sounds rough on idle after driving sometime. Okay, I don't know to tell you without seeing it. That's my diagnostics from afar with my binoculars. I would start with the mass airflow sensor, maybe go to a temp sensor, maybe go to a TPS. I don't know. Then I mean, if you scan it, you don't have any codes. I don't know what to tell you. All right, well, I need to get started on my day. I don't see any questions. Somebody over here, Fernando, can you follow me? I want to support you. Sure, Fernando, I can follow you. Send me a DM and I'll follow you. Follow me, I'll follow back most of the time. Unless you got some weird stuff going on your channel. If you over there like tying cats to frogs and stuff like that, I don't follow stuff like that. But if you seem to be a normal person, just trying to live life, I'll be glad to follow. I don't see any questions over here on TikTok. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off, go do my exercise, and we'll try to stall when I drive in a gear. EY. Are you the same person over here on YouTube with a different name? Not anything on the internet, but the car after driving for some time. Yeah, I think you are. Hey, Rob, saw this weird situation, 850. Okay, yeah. All right. Let me see. 2 new messages. Okay. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you got any questions about timing, feel free to ask. If you use my video, it should be complete. If for some reason it's not complete, you got a question, let me know. All right. Kicks and drive also sounds rough and idle. Thanks, Rob. Have a nice day. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Maybe I'll come back later in the day. Peace.